39, almost 39 years ago, my husband and I adopted a baby boy with Down syndrome. I took him to the program. There was only one program that covered Utah and Wasatch counties. Took him to the program, met the director, and the first thing she said to me was, "Love him, but don't expect much." It just hit me that you should never say that to a parent, especially the parent of a child with a known disability. So I just started trying to find out what other resources were available. I met Brenda through an organization called Up with Downs. She and her husband had moved here from California. They have a daughter named Becca, who, as I watched her, I thought she was great. She had some good verbal skills, and I didn't see a lot of that in the kids that I was getting acquainted with. And I thought, well, maybe that's directly due to the program that says, love him but don't expect much, you know.
An expectation is huge. You've got to expect that they're going to grow, they're going to change, and but we have to help them. We have to be that support that just goes right behind them and pushes them on to something else.
I went to Washington State and met this woman named Pat Allwine, who was really a pioneer in going beyond what the expectation was for people with disabilities, but especially people with Down syndrome. And everything she did emphasized the parent's role, that the professionals are there to help, but the parent is the expert with their child. And I came back so excited. I talked to the physical therapist. I said, show me how to help position him so that he can develop upper body strength. And the therapist said to me, I don't work with parents. And I thought, hey, I'm with this kid all the time, and you see him once a week or every other week for 15 minutes.
We had found that when therapists visited our home and we saw what they were doing, then we could do what they did. And then Becca started to make real progress. So Karen said, yes, that's what we need to do. So how do we do that?
So that's when Brenda and I really put our heads together and said, we need to offer more. And we need to emphasize that whatever we do, the parents are there with their child. It's not in isolation. And the people who work with the families listen to the parents and then give their best advice for helping children reach milestones.
But the first thing we had to do, of course, was to find a way to be funded, because we had no clue how you do that.
Brenda and I decided that we needed to write for a grant. The program in Provo was in trouble at that time. A lot of parents had begun to complain. So the state said, okay, we'll offer a grant and anyone can apply. So the two of us who were just moms said, oh, let's try to write a grant. It was comedy. There was a physical therapist who was interested in writing for the grant also. He lived here in Orem. And we knew him, really good guy. So he handed in an application, and we handed in our application.
But we were the ones that got it. And he said, do you have a name? And we said, well, not really. And he said, well, I was going to use Kids on the Move. And we said, that's perfect. Can we have it? And he said, well, I didn't get it, so yes, I'll give it to you.
We ended up in the dental lab at the UVU campus in Provo. There was no space in Orem. Orem City had a HUD grant that they had to use before they could apply for new money. I didn't know anything about HUD, anything like that. They called us to see if we'd like to do a presentation to the city council. I just asked families to show up at city council and tell their story. And it turned out to be the most powerful thing we could ever do. But here are these families saying, this program is really important to me because it gives me hope. It doesn't just teach me skills, but it gives me hope. And Orem City gave us the $100,000. That's what started our building fund.
Well, the fact that we got the grant, that was the first miracle.
We saw miracles all the time, even in finding some of these rejected spaces and the dental lab at UVU and that city meeting and the interest the city had in us. Some people didn't really believe in what we were doing and said it'd never work. And so those people, we just kind of went around. And other miracles came. Another miracle was just knowing that it wasn't my program and that we could get the answers, that people would come, bringing whatever talent they had or whatever we needed at the time, you know, like getting the BYU architecture students to design a building. Just so many miracles. People stopping in, taking an interest in kids who formerly had been institutionalized or kind of hidden away, and now were being seen in the community and their families being valued. So those kinds of under things that were happening at the same time, maybe the more visible fundraising, those kinds of things, it was the valuing of this community. I remember meeting a family, cute BYU couple, and they just had their first baby. And somebody had linked them with us. And I remember the dad sitting there and saying, we thought we were the only ones in the whole world that had a child with Down syndrome. And what am I going to do? Because I thought I was going to play ball with him, and maybe now I can't, you know. But just that feeling of isolation. A woman came in to Kids on the Move one day and brought her baby, and the baby had a brain tumor, and they knew that she wouldn't live very long. But she walked in, and the staff gathered around her and told her how beautiful her baby was and what a good mom she was. The baby passed away like a week later, and we got a letter from this mom saying, you're the only people that thought my child was beautiful. And I thought, okay, that's why we're here. We just have to keep doing these things, and the right people will come at the right time. There's nothing that takes the place of Kids on the Move. The legacy, and I just feel this in my heart, is that it's still growing, that there's still such a vital need for it.
To think of Kids on the Move and what it's doing and how it can help. And, you know, it's progress. And it's not a place where anybody is shut out. You come here, you get all kinds of information, you get help with what you need, and the books, the library, the programs that have been added, it's just fabulous. And miracles. I want them to think of miracles because they do happen. I'm so grateful. First of all, I'm just grateful for the help that we had, and that we both had kids with Down syndrome, but we incorporated everybody who had any kind of disability that it's just so exciting. And when I went to that, that last appreciation dinner, luncheon, it was so exciting to see all the people. It was, you can't help but cry because it's just beautiful to see what can happen when you have miracles as one of your goals. And that certainly was ours, and we saw it wherever we went.